when you're designing this mission statement, you got to understand the who, you got to understand the what, and oftentimes you have to explain the where.
Welcome to the Magnificent Marketing Podcast, where we interview the top marketing experts in the world and keep you up to date on all the changes and best practices to help you grow your business and stay on the cutting edge. Welcome to the show. Hello, everyone. I'm here today with Marcus Sheridan. And a little bit about Marcus. In 2001, and fresh out of college, Marcus stumbled across the first business with two friends and began installing swimming pools. 9 years later, and with the help of incredible innovations through inbound and content marketing, Sheridan's company overcame the collapse of the housing market and became one of the largest pool installers in the U.S. and currently has the most visited swimming pool website in the world, which is riverpoolsandspas.com. With such success, in late 2009, Sheridan started his sales, marketing, and personal development blog called The Sales Lion, and has since grown the Sales Lion brand to be synonymous with inbound and content marketing excellence, while being featured in multiple industry publications, including the New York Times, where he was referred to as a web marketing guru, and I can vouch for that. And today we are going to be talking about how to create your content marketing mission statement. Marcus, how are you doing today?
Good, buddy. It's great to be here as a return visitor, which I love coming back to your house and excited to talk about something that, frankly, goes deeper than just, quote, a content marketing mission statement, but I'm sure we'll talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, I think, where everything has to begin. What do they say? You got to spend most of your time sharpening your axe, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Chopping the wood. So
yeah.
That's I think the gist of what we're going to be talking today. But before we get into that and all your amazing knowledge and insight here, I want you to first define what content marketing is in your words. I think it's important to understand that before we backtrack and go into setting it up.
Yeah. I think we're going to hear a theme a lot with this conversation, Dave. And keep in mind, my definition is one that has been derived from this obsession of getting buy-in with this thing that you and I call content marketing. Mm-hmm. And if I thought like a marketer, I might give it the marketing definition that you would see in Wikipedia. But the problem is that definition isn't made to get buy-in. It's not designed in a way that people could repeat it again and again across departments. And so that's why I have the following definition. And it's one that I think everybody can fundamentally understand within an organization. That is this. Content marketing is our company's ability to be the best and most helpful teachers in the world at what we do, online and off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So our company's ability to be the best and most helpful teachers in the world at what we do online and off.
I love how you say that because it's simple and it gets you thinking about the right things. You got that's what you need to be doing, and the way you phrase it. I guess I've heard you say that in the past, but I forgot. And I didn't know what you were going to say right now, but I've heard various definitions of content marketing and what it is, and sometimes you get too into the,
Dude, you get way into the weeds. Now,
yeah.
Here's the thing, David. Here's the thing. Look at it like this. Okay, so the question is, of course, why that definition, right? So look at it like this. Number one, could you ever see a CEO saying, I want to be the best content marketing company in the world? I don't think CEOs are going to say that. But I could see a CEO saying, I want to be viewed as the foremost teachers in our industry, in our marketplace. I want people, if they have a problem, to think my company's name, right? I can see that. I could see a salesperson saying that. I can see an entire organization getting excited and engaged in the idea that we're all teachers. I say that because I've lived this. But what they won't do is they won't get into the technical jargon that marketers use. And one more point about this, okay? One more point. I have found, because, I didn't know this when I was just a simple pool guy 7, 8 years ago, just starting to write about this stuff. But I have found time and time again that when it comes to business, when it comes to change, that if you want an evolution of a business, if you want to get something approved, if you want to get it done, you call it sales. And if you want to get it rejected, you call it marketing. And so that's why when you talk about content marketing, you can't talk about it like it's marketing, because that in that moment, it puts it on a path of rejection. And it sounds like trite almost to say it. It's true. It's true. I've lived it. I've experienced it again and again. And that's why that definition sticks and it works. And I've seen it get so much buy-in.
Yeah, and like I said, you understand it right when you finish saying it, and it gets you in the right frame, and then you can just tailor everything. And of course, you have technical aspects and all this stuff, and you want to, know kind of, the technical, what kind of money words you want to rank for and stuff. But all that needs to be known on the side, and but the main gist of it is teaching, educating, helping, and in that statement, your definition basically brings that right to the forefront. That's the most important thing. Everything should follow it. Okay. So let's go to the beginning. Again, tell me why you think it's so important to have this content marketing mission statement.
Well, the person, the thought leader out there that is most known for this, of course, is Simon Sinek. And he talks about the golden circle, start with why, and how oftentimes, companies, they might understand what they do. They usually understand, what they do. And they often understand how they do it, but they rarely understand why they do it, right? Mm-hmm. And because they don't get the why, it doesn't permeate every part of their being, if you will, right? And so you've got to understand the why to take something that is a program to turn it into a culture. There's a very big difference, because programs come and go, right? They die. They're born, they live, they breathe, they die. And most people expect them to die. And so when you start a content marketing, quote, initiative in your organization, most people, because everybody's a doubter, except those that are in the marketing department, expect it to die. And so you've got to give them the vision that goes beyond that. And that's why we have to help them see it in a, like, oh my goodness, this can't die because it's part of who we are. And it has to be something that, look, we're all seeing this. Digital in and of itself, content, producing it, be it text, video, audio, whatever it is, it takes serious work, serious commitment, serious involvement from multiple people on your team. And so if you don't have all those things, you're going to probably fail, or you're not going to get the results that you want. In order to get that participation from everybody, they've got to know, why should I even bother? Now, granted, we can force feed it on them, but it's much better if they come with a smile, right? If they're engaged with a smile. And when they see themselves as a teacher, you go to most people, Dave, and you say to them, would you consider yourself, at least in one area of life, a good teacher? Do you have the ability to teach anything at all well? Most people would say, yeah, I'm a teacher. You see, that's a powerful thing. And so we want everybody on the organization, within the organization, to be able to say, yeah, I do have something to give. I've got something to offer the world. I've got something to teach the world. I've got a message that needs to be heard. Those that are out there need to know what life has taught me, right? And so when that happens, we have the starting point. And when we can refer back to it, and we're all on the same page, and we're not looking at it in different lights, from different angles, from different lenses, we're able to say, as a group, whether it's an army of one or an army of 1,000, whatever it is, we are all teachers. It's our job to help our customers, potential customers. We want to solve their problems. And we want them, if they have a question, a need, a worry, concern, an issue, we want them to think our company name. We want them to come to us. And if we do that, they'll trust us, they'll love us, and we'll have a great relationship, right? So we need everybody thinking that exact same thing and understanding that domino effect. That's where it starts.
Yeah, and you would think, out of the woodworks are going to come people within the company that says, hey, what about this? Assuming everybody's in line and they understand that, and you develop that mission statement, you know your why. you're going to find people who are like, hey, let's teach them about this or that. So yeah, I mean, get everybody in line. That's the goal here.
Well, David, the number one issue in marketing right now, when it comes to digital, okay, is buy-in. That is the number one issue, by far. It's number one email
for the whole thing. Like not buying for the first few months, but buying for the first year plus. Yeah, I mean, that's what I've experienced.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge problem. Sales teams are like rolling their eyes if marketing is coming to them asking for help, right? And so buy-in is a major problem. Buy-in is a major problem from leadership. You got all these great marketers out there that want to be creative, that want to exercise their skills, abilities, their art, but they're being stonewalled by people in leadership that are not thinking in the same light. Again, this is a problem. This is a problem. And so how are we going to get them all on the same page? And that's why we have to start somewhere, an agreement. If you go to most organizations right now, okay, and you go to the sales team and you ask them, and let's assume they're doing content marketing, David. If you ask them, what is content marketing, most of them will not be able to give you a very good answer. And in fact, it'll shock you how many people in the organization really fundamentally have no clue what it is. And oftentimes they'll end up saying, yeah, it's something that marketing's doing. They, you know, I don't really know, they blogs or something, right? Like, that's not how you win. That's not, that you can't get amazing results like that, and you're certainly not going to develop a culture that way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what do you think some of the overall things, you know, a marketer, a company, you know, your team needs to understand about your company, you know, and about your clients before you can create your content marketing mission statement, let alone your plan?
Yeah. Well, here's the problem with content marketing, okay? The problem is, if you don't believe that you are a teacher, and if you don't believe that giving away information and helping leads to better business and more business, well then, none of this stuff's going to work anyway, right? I mean, it's over. It's over. And so you've got to have that mindset in place. If that mindset's not there, then again, that's the first domino. Everybody's got to say, yes, I want to be a teacher and I want to solve our customers' problems. That's number one. Well, and then you say, well, what are their problems? What are their problems? And so we have to understand what their general problems are. We also have to understand who we are trying to solve problems for. Okay, so who's the who? So in other words, the who for me might be that I say, okay, well, let me give you one more parameter to this. It's basically when you're designing this mission statement, you got to understand the who, you got to understand the what, and oftentimes you have to explain the where. So, for example, let's say that you're an accounting firm, okay, and you are working with small businesses mainly, and you generally are focused on the Washington, D.C. area, okay? So you might say, as your content marketing mission statement, we want to be the premier source of accounting information for small business owners throughout the Washington, D.C. area. There. You've understand the who, which is small business owners. You've explained the where, which is the D.C. area. You've explained the what it is, which is basically the premier source of helpful information, or whatever that is, right? So you've defined all those things now within the mission statement. And if you've done that, you've done more than 99% of organizations when it comes to their content marketing efforts. Back up,
repeat what you just said, and then say blank. You know, say that again. I want people to write this down. I do. I mean, we got it. You just said 99.9% aren't doing it, right? So let's drive this home.
Yes.
Say it again. Say it again. Yes. And then don't give us a specific example. Say blah blah blah.
We have got to have who we are trying to help, how we're trying to help them, right? It's the how what side of it, right? And where we're doing this. because some businesses are just U.S., some are North America, some are international, some are the world.
Some are part
You
of
got to
the city.
define that. That's right.
Part of the city.
That's correct. And so that's why when you define that and you're debating about content, what to produce in the future, you're able to look back at your mission statement and you're able to say, you know, we're not here to help the people that are not in DC. We're here to be the foremost teachers for accounting services and questions for small business owners in the DC area. We're not here to try to make the corporations happy. That's not our goal. We're not here to teach the person that's in Seattle. We are here for them. We understand who we are, and because of that, it'll guide us along the way.
Yeah, and let me interject, and you know, feel free to shoot down what I say or agree. But for those who out there who are listening to this and they hear that, understand that this is where the SEO aspect comes in. So if you're writing all about this and you're focusing on Washington, D.C., it's
Correct.
going to be natural that you are going to be mentioning Washington, D.C. in your copywriting without having to even force it into your copywriting.
Great point.
It's going to happen. Then over time, you will start to rank for what you want to rank for. So that's how this works. You know, with Google's going, it's semantic, meaning synonymous with, meaning, you know, voice search intent, all of that stuff. It all will help you out, and this is where your SEO benefit comes up. And if you listen to Marcus, what he's saying is be specific, know what you want, know who you're speaking to, and then the organic, the SEO. Over time now, you know, of course you got to do the proper, you know, title tags, and, you know, you can Google all that stuff and figure it out. It's not rocket surgery, but you do need to know how to do it. But you naturally will get what you want organically by just following what Marcus is saying over time. Now, it needs to be consistent, needs to be good, needs to be applicable, needs to be targeted. So anyways, just wanted to throw that out there. So because a lot of people want to rank, and they understand that content, they go to any SEO guy and they always say you got to have content. Well, that's how it works, you know, by being specific like that. So,
specificity wins the day. It's a great point, Dave. And a lot of people forget that, and they get too generic with it. You're always better leaning towards being specific with your content versus generic every single time. But most lean towards being generic versus being specific, and thus they suffer, they lose.
Or they learn from, you know, big companies talking about this, right? And of course they're going to be a little bit more generic. They have a lot more money to waste, and they have a lot more reach or a bigger opportunity because they are national or global or whatever. But that's not you, possibly.
Right. That's
you
right.
know, I mean, it could be, but you know, most likely it's not. So yes, exactly. Niche, specificity. I mean, you hear it over and over. So do it. Do it. You hear it. Do it. All right. Well, awesome. So let's circle back. You mentioned lack of buy-in being the #1 biggest problem these days. So what have you seen? You work with small, you work with medium, you work with very large corporations. I know you do from following you over these years, so you should have insight from the tiny to the large. So what have you seen? And if you want to break it up. If you think this works for everybody, then say that. But how have you seen some small and large companies go, or the marketing departments or ad agencies or whomever, how do you see them getting buy-in with the higher ups successfully, of course?
Yeah. So I'm going to give you some simple ways that I've seen this done. Let's take, for example, Content Marketing World. You know that event. I know that event. It's one of the premier events in the world for understanding what's happening with digital and content's relation to today's buyer. Okay. I did a sales session there last year. So they have a sales track, they've got a marketing track. I did a sales track session. Had about 200 people in the room. And in that session, I did a live poll. I said, how many of you are primarily in the sales department? And how many are primarily in the marketing department? And this is what I found. I had about 190 people that were in the marketing department, and 10 people were in the sales department. And it was a sales track. In other words, that was the most densely populated sales session you're going to attend. And yet there was 5% were actually in sales. And so here's what marketers have completely whiffed on. They do not realize that it's more important that the leadership team and or the sales team attends marketing conferences than it is the marketers themselves. They don't get it. And because of that, what happens is marketer goes to the conference and gets all excited. They come back to the office on Monday, and somebody rains on their parade because they literally feel like the leader, whoever it was, the manager, they feel like it's their job in that moment to play devil's advocates and to essentially rein them in and bring them back to earth, which is sad, So that's number one. It starts with, when you are going to be educated, are you making sure that those that you need buy-in most are there? Because if you're trying to espouse this to your team, if you're out there, preaching the good word to your organization, the sad thing is you can be a prophet to the world, but nobody's going to listen to you in your hometown. That's facts. And so you might understand how to talk about marketing. That doesn't mean you're going to have success getting buy-in. The majority of the workshops that I do, Dave, or speeches that I give, I'll have a marketer come up to me and say, my CEO is so fired up. They just heard you. They're so passionate, but I got to admit, I'm frustrated because I've been saying this for 3 or 4 or 5 years. And every time, David, I say, I know you have. And it's not because you're not a good communicator. It's because you work within the organization. So that's number one. So you got to bring them to the events, and you can't expect yourself to be the missionary, the converter, if you will. Next thing is you've got to have educational events in-house, some type of catalyst-style event where the department, the organization, depending on the size, everybody gets together and they get on that same page. That's that what, how, why moment. You can't really do this with emails at all. You can't do it with, a 5-minute speech. You got to do it with more, and that's why I think workshops are so imperative. When I do live polls, Dave, and I say to organizations, how many of you kicked off your content marketing efforts with a workshop? All right? Less than 5% of the room will raise their hand.
Yeah.
And then we wonder why they fail. We wonder why there's buy-in problems. So that's another one. So that's number two. You got to start with some type of catalyst style event, explain the what, the how, and the why. Then number three, you must make this long term. So in other words, there is an awareness that needs to be promoted about how, are we winning? Are we losing? Is this working? Is it not working? Who's doing well? Who's crushing it? What content is getting results? Is it generating revenue and ROI? And so if you're sending out some type of internal reporting system, say it quarterly or whatever that thing is, that's letting them know this is the impact, ladies and gentlemen. Now all of a sudden, everybody has to raise an eyebrow and say, my goodness, this really is working. So those are 3 things that if you want this to work, you got to do them, and don't make the mistake of thinking you can skip them, because otherwise it's going to be difficult. We've been a part of some amazing, amazing case studies with our clients at this point, right? And every single time, the number one factor, by far, Dave, the number one factor that dictates whether we're going to have huge success with a client or not is how engaged is the leadership team, specifically the CEO or somebody within that space. Now, granted, if I'm talking to a corporation with a couple thousand employees, I don't necessarily expect the CEO to be there, but even still, the CEO's got to be aware of that mission.
So in these workshops, do you have some good exercises that people can go through to help them get to the point of nailing down, of course, starting with the content marketing mission statement, and then, the plan in general. And on this note, is there like a good set of questions or, that off the top of your head that need to get answered? But again, do you have some advice? Okay, do the workshop. Somebody's like, okay, you know what? I'm doing this the right way. I'm going all the way through. Got this workshop. Okay, now what? Right?
Well,
help some people there.
There's 2 exercises that I do with most organizations that are incredibly effective, right? One of the one of the exercises that we do is this. Have everybody in the room write down on a sheet of paper 1 through 7, and I ask them, I want you to write down the top 7 reasons why somebody would not buy from you, assuming they know you exist. And you have to be specific. In other words, you can't say, well, they don't trust me. No, that's not a specific enough reason. Why don't they trust you, right? So they might say things like, we're too expensive. Or they might say things like, they've read bad reviews about us. Or they might, whatever that thing is. Or, you know, we don't have the right, our solution isn't the right fit because of X, Y, or Z, right? But write down top 7 reasons why somebody would not do business with you, assuming they know you exist. This is extremely powerful because what's crazy about this, a shocking number of people, specifically in the leadership department, can't even come up with 7, which is embarrassing. Usually the sales team does it pretty fast because, of course, they're hearing it all day long. What's funny is the leaders are the ones that are making the directional decisions for the organization, and they're aloof because this list is everything, Dave. Because here's the reality. If you can eliminate these fears, those 7, before they contact a salesperson, your business is going to change forever. Forever. And this is the essence of content marketing. So that's step 1 is you make the list of 7. Step 2, and this takes seconds, is I want you to put a check mark next to each one of those 7 that you've already addressed really well on your website and within your digital platforms. Okay? And this is what I found. And I've done this exercise with, at this point, I guess over 10,000 people. Out of 7, on average, there's about 1.5 check marks. Doesn't matter the industry, doesn't matter the event, 1.5 check marks. So in other words, the 7 most critical reasons why people do not do business with us, we decide not to address before they actually talk to us, which means we're hemorrhaging potential customers. That's what that means. Are you with me so far?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's number 1. That's number 1. Number two, and this is specifically for the sales team. But with the sales team, we say, let's assume that you're given the first presentation for a particular product, all right? Just pick a product or pick a service, but you're given your pitch, right? Your initial sales presentation. What are the top 10 questions you get every single time? Okay? You get every single time. See, what we find, Dave, is that 80% of the questions that people get on an initial sales appointment are the same every single time. Yet, notwithstanding, we allow our sales team to continue to answer these same questions every single time. And of course, the question is why? Why have they not figured out how to answer it yet? Do they need to practice? Of course, the answer is no. We just are allowing our buyers to live in ignorance, and we're incredibly inefficient because of it. And so what we want to do is once we've identified those, we say, okay, what piece of content can we produce so that as soon as we get this lead, we deliver that piece of content and it will eliminate the 80% of questions they have, assuming they watch it or read it or whatever that thing is. So, for example, whenever we do a video initiative with a client, the first video we produce, Dave, is what we call the 80% video. And the 80% video is the video that answers those 80% of questions that are always the same on the first sales appointment that we send out as soon as the lead is in the funnel, like immediately. Immediately. Am I making sense?
Yeah, you are. How long is that video? I mean, does it matter how long it is?
Well, that video can be a little bit longer because, you know, if there's 10 questions that it's addressing, it can be a little bit longer. So it's not unusual for it to be 5 to 10 minutes long. Sometimes it's longer than that, and I'm okay with that.
When does this happen again? In your experience?
Yeah, we want them. The 80% video should be sent out the second the lead comes into the system.
Wow. Okay, not after a salesperson's talked to somebody, like somebody in lead comes into your form.
Totally not. Totally not. So there's a lot of reasons for that, Dave. Number one,
email that is instead of a thank you email, we'll contact you in 24 to 48 hours.
Well, think about it. Think about it. No, Dave. No.
Yeah.
If you think about it, it's like, okay, if you're waiting for the salesperson to talk to them, well, then it defeats the purpose. The idea is that salespeople sell, not teach. Right now, they spend too much time in the, quote, sales appointment teaching. And the reason for that is because they're answering the 80% over and over again. Marketing's job, in conjunction with sales, marketing's job is to eliminate the teaching that sales has to do so that they can do what they do best, which is sell. And so this is why we want to strive to eliminate the 80% before we've ever talked with the person face to face. And if we do this the right way, if that video has come from the organization, maybe even the salesperson, Dave, now, before they have officially talked, the prospect has met the salesperson because they have heard their voice, they have seen their face, they've listened to their teachings, and they've developed a relationship before the first handshake. If we as sales organizations are meeting our customers for the first time when we shake their hand, we have failed. Because they should feel like they already know us, they know our voice, they know our face, they're calling us by first name. That's how this needs to work. And let me give you one really quick example of it, Dave. Okay? For years when I was a pool guy, for years, I would knock on the door because I had a sales appointment, 5 o'clock at night. I'd knock on the door, and I would hear a kid in the background say, "Mom, Dad, pool guy's here." Heard that for years. Yeah, kids were excited. Pool guy's there, right? They're excited to get their pool. Once we started doing the 80% video, everything changed. And eventually I started to hear, "Mom, Dad, the guy on the video is here." Huh. And eventually, Dave, that turned to the most powerful statement of the three, which was, "Mom, Dad, Marcus, the pool guy, is here." And when a kid says that, I know I am walking into a family that is going to buy a pool that night.
Yeah. So these are salespeople videos, not a company. These are individual, get the salespeople on camera. They each
in a perfect world, the salespersons, especially depending on the size of the organization, this varies, but in a perfect world, the salespeople are the ones that are doing these videos because we need to establish a relationship with the sales team before the first sales meeting. It's very critical.
Yeah, this is a great piece here, Marcus. It's the first I've heard of it. I mean, you might have spoken about it, ad nauseum. I just have missed it. Yeah, that's powerful. I mean, I'm making notes on for our own stuff here. I mean, it makes so much sense. But second step, if you can't because I have experienced some salespeople who just, let alone take their picture, get them on camera, it's like the end of the world, So, and some people just have that crazy fear, and I know you're like, well, get over it, right? But let's just assume that you do have hundreds of salespeople, and it's impossible. Is the next step, the next best thing is to just have the marketing person answer 80% of the questions. Or
I will usually then get the sales manager.
Sales manager, okay.
Yes, because I want somebody within the sales organization doing it because fundamentally they're supposed to be the expert anyway.
Okay. Okay, very cool. Awesome, man. That is so cool. I'm stoked about that pointer right there. That's awesome. And it's gonna not only grease the skids, it'll things will go not only smoother but faster.
Faster, bro! Faster.
Yeah.
You'll cut down your average sales appointment by 50%.
Yeah.
Think about that junk. 50%. Yeah. Well, what can you do if you do that over the course of a year? How much more time are you going to spend with qualified leads or with your family because you have more time now? I mean, to me, this is what it's all about. I used to have to go on, when I was a pool guy and I was inefficient and didn't do this, in order to sell about 70 pools, I'd have to go on about 210 appointments. That's what I had to do. And when we started doing it this way, on average, we would go like literally to sell 70 pools, I'd have to go on about 100 appointments.
Yeah, I'm surprised you even had to do that. Yeah, you know who else it's faster for? The buyer. And they're busy too. They have jobs.
That's the thing. They like it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's now somebody that's listening to this right now might say, well, I mean, most buyers, they're not going to take the time to do that. Not true. At all. At all. The reason why they wouldn't do it is because, again, you didn't explain it, you didn't message it well, right? So let's say that we were just doing this, a particular style of this, David, and you called me up, all right? And you said, hey, you know, can you come out to my house and give me a quote for this, right? And I would say, sure, David. Now, but I need to get you to do this content, right? I need to get you to do it. So I need to give you the incentive to do it. And let's say I explain to you, okay, so in order for you to have a great experience, in order to help you to not make any mistakes, and so that we make the best use of our time, then I want you to go ahead and review these things before I come out to your house on Friday, or before I meet with you at your office on Friday. And you say yes. Now let's say you say no. At that point in time, I have a choice to make, but I can say, look, I understand your time is valuable, but this is the exact reason I'm asking you to do this. See, number one, I don't want you to waste your time. We might not be the best solution for you. By watching this, you're going to clearly know if we're a good or not a good fit for your situation, which, by the way, no salespeople almost ever say that. When you say it that way, it immediately makes a person say, wow, this guy, this gal, totally different. Love how they roll. Love how they think. They're more interested in finding the right fit versus selling me something. That's the essence of great content marketing anyway. It goes back to your mission statement, be the best teachers in the world.
It's a pull versus push, right? Attraction
Yes,
versus promotion.
that's exactly right. And so if you message this the right way, the point is, the majority, many, will absolutely do that thing that you ask them to do. You will save a lot of time, and you're going to start to see a dramatically higher quality first sales appointment. It's great when you go on that first sales appointment and they're finishing your lines. They're saying, yeah, I read that. Yeah, I remember seeing that. Yeah, you already explained that. That's awesome, man.
Yeah. It is awesome. Yeah, no, I hear you, man. I hear you. For the sake of time here, I know we're running a little bit short. I'd love for you to, if you can, if you don't have these off the top of your head, then we'll move on. But let's put some real world examples out there. What are some of your most favorite content marketing mission statements that you've seen where companies have just nailed it?
Oh, dude, yeah, this is, I don't have a bunch. You know, one that really impressed me recently that I just stumbled across was Jay Baer's for Convince and Convert. And I don't want to jack it up too much, but he said we want to be the premier marketing go-to information hub for large businesses and corporations in North America.
Yeah, I actually have it written down here, Marcus, if you want me to read it.
Read that one. I jacked it up. You obviously jacked it up, but go ahead and read it. It aligns with what we just said.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know how we happen to be picking the same one. I guess when I was doing my research, it came in. Yeah, it is, we will become North America's most trusted source of digital marketing and online customer service advice and counsel. Very specific.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, they get it. They get it. They understand the where. The only thing they don't do is the who, but if they did a who, it would literally be for the corporation because Jay doesn't work with small businesses. He doesn't work with mom and pops.
That's why North America is.
He works with bigger brands that, and that's who he's going after. He knows who he is. That's why if you're a mom and pop, you're not going to probably get a lot out of Convince and Convert. But if you're Discover Card, if you're Disney, if you're one of these other companies, you're going to get a crap ton out of going through their site and learning and reading.
Yeah. Yeah, and let me read the other one. I actually just wrote down two. One was Convince and Convert, just randomly happened to be the same one you brought up. And the other one was for Ripper Pools and Spas. And that one is, we want, and I know you probably didn't want to say your own, so I'll say it for you. We want to be the best and most helpful teachers in the world when it comes to buying and owning an in-ground swimming pool.
Yep.
I mean, it's cut and dry.
Yeah.
And from there, you could probably, I know this, you know, it's so simple, right? It probably took you, you know, weeks and months and maybe even years to go back and, you know, and like really define it. Who knows, right? I mean, after everything you've learned. So, you know, it sounds
But
like
you know
it
the reason why we say, like, there's a reason why we say world, because eventually I want to be selling internationally because we manufacture pools, right? And so when it comes to manufacturing pools, we have dealers that we send the pools to and they install them in the ground, right? And so I don't want to just be, we start off as just a Virginia installation company. And then because of the influx of leads that we got from all over the country, I'm like, man, somehow we got to be able to sell these people. That's when we started manufacturing. And so as the manufacturing grows, I realized I'm going to be an international company. And so as to align my thoughts with that, that's why we have the mission statement in that way.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So where do you think some people go wrong here on that, you know, accident or whatever? You know, where and possibly where they might miss the mark?
The simple answer to that is they don't do what we've talked about. They think like a marketer. They speak of this like it's marketing. You know, when we talk, Dave, usually I come back to sales. It's a sales conversation. Like today, we've had a sales conversation. It's been organizational, but the examples and the main points have been about sales. I do that for a reason. To me, it always comes back to sales because that's the way that we need to think about these things if we want to get people saying, I need to do that. I'm motivated to run with that. If the sales manager has heard me talk about this today, they're saying to themselves, yeah, why the heck am I answering those 80% of questions over and over again? That's stupid. It's a waste of all of our times, right? And so that's one of the major mistakes. Don't see this like marketing. Start with the mission statement early. Start with the workshop. The mistake is not doing the workshop. Bring your team to these educational events. The mistake is not bringing them, thinking that you can just be the messenger. Can't do it. Can't do it. And then not immediately integrating content into the sales efforts, the sales process. Big mistake. You got to do that. That's how you get immediate wins. You know, to get the whole traffic, leads, and sales part of content marketing, that usually takes more time. But to get immediate wins from trust, from moving people in and out of the funnel faster, to, you know, increasing closing rates while decreasing sales cycles, that can be done immediately if we're integrating content into the sales process. Most never do that.
And your current customers, right? Immediately,
totally.
At least start building up clout there.
Building that retention, those better, you know, good vibes with them. Totally.
And I promise you that people are calling on them. And that's where people, you know, they look at leads, they look at all this stuff, but all those other things are a big part of this, and they're the earlier victories. So
yeah.
I'm glad you brought those up because those are very important. Well, I was going to ask you for any parting thoughts, but you've recapped everything marvelously. Greatly appreciate your time. Actually, this weekend I'm doing video shoots for our company and for one other company we serve, and I have just added a couple videos to my to-do list. So
sweet.
On a personal level. How can people continue to learn from you?
Yeah, you can always just, if you got questions, email me, Marcus, the number one, or just marcus@thesalesline.com is fine. Check out the website. At the Sales Line. Most importantly, make sure you get the book. If you haven't gotten the book yet, They Ask You Answer. It's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Mashable called it the #1 marketing book to read in 2017, so hopefully everybody will check that out.
Nice. And it's Marcus with a U. M-A-R-C-U-S.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, sir. Until next time, I'm already looking forward to it.
Yeah, Dave. That was great, man. Thank you, buddy.